Hi, HRN listeners. We're celebrating our 15th anniversary, and we have a really fun campaign and an ask for you. This 15th anniversary tour is aiming to bring you closer to unique food and music experiences in some of the most exciting cities in America. All the while, we're raising funds to support our work empowering the next generation of food system storytellers through our fellowship programs. Here's how it works. Donate to HRN and be entered into a raffle in the city of your choice to win a dinner for two at a noteworthy restaurant and tickets for two to a concert at a prominent local venue. We have incredible partners in New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Nashville, Las Vegas, Charleston, Asheville, and Ardmore, Pennsylvania, who have donated a meal for two and two tickets to a concert of the winner's choice. And all donations help fund our fellowship programs, where we're helping to build essential workforce readiness skills and food system storytelling skills. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15. Thank you.
Hi everyone, you're listening to Item 13 podcast and I'm your host, Yom Tego. Every week, we'll delve into the world of African food, including chefs, curators, and bloggers. I hope you enjoy it. This is part 2 of my conversation with Freda Muyambo, founder of My Burnt Orange. If you haven't listened to the first part, please do so before listening to this episode. Here's the final part of our conversation. Okay, so we're back from a quick break. Before we left, we sort of summarized for us on a high level all the different, I wouldn't even call it a summary.
Yeah, so
I think you
we got into it,
which is really good. I think it's a good, I actually almost now wish we had done this at the beginning of the series of the podcast, and it gives people a sense of all of the different foods as I talk to different chefs and bloggers like around the continent, but that's fine. I think this is still a good refresher. Yeah. You're now based in Lagos.
Yes, I am.
And you've been learning a lot about the local foods, incorporating it into your own sort of daily cooking, but then also have paladed into a business venture. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
You also talked about research in the first half of the podcast. So I also want to speak to how you do research.
Yeah.
One of the things you've done before Lagos, and then when you came to Lagos, I felt, because I follow you on social media, I thought it was a lot of experiential research, if you will. You were going to the markets, you were talking to people, taking pictures, touching and feeling. Yeah. So let's talk about that. First, let's talk about your move to Lagos. What was it like to adjust from moving from London to...
So my move to Lagos happened just over 2 years ago.
It's been 2 years.
It's been 2 years. It was 2016, February 2016. And
time flies.
I remember, time does fly. And a lot has happened in that time, and I have to say, I am enjoying myself. But before we moved, I remember how reluctant I was to moving, not for the sake of moving, but I think just sometimes... when you're comfortable, you have a routine, you are reluctant to change. And, with the 3 kids, how is it going to happen? But, we moved to Lagos. I at the time, took a career break, from my job, hung up my boots, came to Lagos to follow my husband who, was brought here because of I would say a once-in-a-lifetime career opportunity. Why wouldn't you do it? So, and I remember when I first came to Lagos, now I always say to newcomers that the first 2 weeks are the hardest. There are 2 stages. The first 2 weeks are the hardest, then there's the 6-month hump, and then you're getting there. But the first 2 weeks were the hardest because I found myself in a new place, and in my mind I had all the preconceptions I had about Lagos or Nigeria. And I remember sitting at home thinking, oh, goodness, am I ever going to leave this house? Am I ever going to have the courage or the boldness to go out there? But once that was done, it was done. My inquiring mind and adventurous spirit just kicked in, and I was out in the markets, just looking at what's out there, and there's so much out there. So I would say that, within 3 months, I felt like I had settled in well already. I felt like I knew my left from right already, and
Well, that's good to hear, because I think Lagos gets a bad rap sometimes for being just a really tough city to be in. Giddy, it is.
Giddy.
Yeah.
Last giddy. Yeah. Well,
but you probably have to have the right mindset also.
I think that is exactly what you need to have, and I'm just glad I had my thing that I could take with me of, you know what, I may have taken a career break, but I have my other career, my passion that I can always work on no matter where I am. So, and I think that's what really helped me, take a foot out of my front door and say, well, I'm here and I have so much to learn. And really, that's how I just took it on. And I think part of your question was how do I do my research?
Yeah, so especially when you moved to Lagos, right? It looks like a lot of it was just going out there and touching and feeling and tasting.
Yes. So and that's it's all experiential, and this is the point of being here. If I'm here, I want to taste the foods. I want to see what's happening on the scene. And Lagos is interesting. I think Lagos is Lagos. It's not Nigeria. It's such a diverse country, with over 250 different ethnic groups and even more languages. It's a melting pot in itself, okay? But it's also very cosmopolitan, because whilst I have the curiosity to go and find out about indigenous foods, so I'll go into the markets. And when I say markets, I'll say I want to go to Obalende, I want to go to Balogun Market, see where people who are, in no disrespect of the term, the locals. I want to go where the locals go. So I went to Obalende. I remember by my third week, I had my mom here. My mom came to support the move, so it was me and my mom. With the guy who helps to get stuff on the market, my steward. We went. I said, we want to go to the market, Took a local taxi, got to the market, hopped into a keke. He was saying, Madam, you want to go in there? I said, yes, now. Why not? Yes, now. So we went to the market. And the market is that's West Africa for you, just open air, and this is where the entrepreneurial vibe and spirit of everybody is. You just set up shop, in rightly or wrongly, or I'm sure people have licenses as well. Open air is a thing. It is a thing. You pay your dues to be there. So I remember finding Iru. I remember what I said. I said, I want to taste, and at that time I knew about Eforiro. I said, I want to taste Eforiro. I want to cook it at home. So we went out to get ingredients. We bought some Iru, which is the dawa seeds, pungent, very, very, how should I say it? Mature, cheesy kind of smell. Like this is the throwing yourself in the deep end. So got some of that. Got some cow skin, which I learned is called pomo in. I'm assuming is Yoruba, because that's the other thing. It's languages.
Right. Yeah.
It's languages. Like Nigerian food was. I remember studying it for 18 months before I even dared to create a recipe.
Oh, really?
Because you know how I love Nigeria, but my Nigerian friends, you can be extra sometimes. Because Nigerians will not hesitate to comment, whether it's negative or positive, or tell you how wrong you are, or become the oil police on your behalf. Okay, so, I found it daunting, but the other thing about Nigerian food is that there's so many different ethnic groups or tribes here, and they all have their own food. So you'll find that if you're doing research, if you're doing a desktop search, thank God for the internet, you'll find that somebody is writing about food, but they're writing about ingredients in their language, how they know. You know, the Effiks will write about an ingredient that you actually have to translate and transliterate and find the root of what it actually is, down to the botanical name. That's when you know what you're talking about, because it's that there's a lot of layers to filter through. You know, somebody from Delta will be writing about ingredients in the way they know. So there was a lot of translation to be done, and a lot of I'd say I had to go down to scientific research, you know, because you want to get down to the botanical name of the ingredients, then you really know what you're talking about. So yes, so we made eforiro.
Okay, explain to people what eforiro is.
Eforiro is what I would call a vegetable stew. Nigerians would call it a vegetable soup.
It looks to me like kontomire a little bit, right?
Very much like that, you know. So yes, for the Ghanaian audience, it's a leafy stew made of I call it Lagos spinach, but it's African spinach, amaranth leaves. You know, and there are two types that they use here. There's the efo tete and efo shoko.
They're all Nigerian.
Yes, you have to, you know, because when they write about it's in their own language, you kind of have to go behind it. There are two varieties of amaranth leaves, so collectively, it's here you can call it Lagos spinach, but it is African spinach. In Zimbabwe, they use it as well. In Tanzania, they use it. They call it mchicha. So these are amaranth leaves. It's African spinach, and it's delightful. I mean, it's a lovely leaf, and in some places it just grows wildly. Most people that I have come across, you know, when I've asked them, you know, what is this? Oh, it's a weed. They think it's a weed. It is food. It is food. It is highly nutritious food, and you know how amaranth is all the craze right now, superfood. I mean, that is our food. It grows everywhere. It grows everywhere. If you're translating to the Jamaicans or the Caribbean, that's what they call kalalu. It's the same thing.
Really?
It is the same thing. It is the same thing.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
It is the same thing. So
So in your exploration of Nigerian or Lagosian food, if you will, you developed your blondies, right? So you developed Agbalumo. So take us on that journey, discovering it, and then sort of how you ended up with.
So what I did is, as soon as I landed, I said, look, guys, you know, I would ask my, you know, I have somebody, my nanny, if you will, somebody helping me take care of the kids. Look, there's this fruit I used to eat whenever we visited Ghana. I would turn it to chewing gum. You know, what is it called? And I know in Ghana we call it alasa. Yeah, and she said, no, that's Agbalumo. So I said, I really want to taste some. So I had some, and I don't think it was until my second year in Lagos that I, you know, really took aside time. When it came back into season, I peeled it, I cut it up, I dried it in the oven, and man, it looked amazing when I dried it, because it turned this shade of ruby red that was so appealing. It looked like a goji berry. And I thought, this is amazing. And I thought, man, you know what? I have a blondie recipe, you know, blueberry blondies. That was my thing as well, that I had blogged about in past years. And I thought, I wonder how this fruit will do in a blondie, because after all, it is called the African cherry, you know, and people bake with cherry. So let me give it a go. So I remember at the time there was a foodie event that you know, I feel welcomed in Lagos by the foodie community, because it didn't take long before I got invited to an event called Food and Everything Else that is heavily sponsored by Maggie. You know, so I remember there was one of those events coming up, and I said, look, I'm experimenting with this, with a new recipe. Can I bring it? You know, so I made loads of Agbalumo blondies, and the first iteration was I put crumble on top. And I took it there, and people loved. They said it really tastes. You can taste that it tastes like Agbalumo, and you know. So I thought, okay, I've just created this thing. People have responded very well to it. made it again, this time without the crumble, so you could see the fruit and the blondie in all its glory. Posted it online. I started getting calls from people in Ikeja, all over the place, who they didn't even know me, but they were following my blog or Instagram page and said, I want to taste it. I want to taste it. So it became this craze in Lagos, and I can truthfully say nobody had ever made it before. So I can stake my claim as being the inventor of Agbalumo Blondie. You know, that I created, I used it in a dessert, and I know, I mean, there are many other, you know, fantastic bloggers and experimenters out there who are doing other things with it. But yes, I'm the first person who, I created Agbalumo Blondie. I'm putting my stamp on it.
Yeah, claim it. So what are you hoping to do with it? What are you doing with it now?
So I made it into a bakery item because as part of my food curiosity here in Lagos, I fell into baking quite literally.
Yeah.
You know, I came here as an African cuisine enthusiast, and baking or dessert making is not really a part of that, but I found myself baking because I just gave it a shot and people responded positively to it. So I pitched it to a couple of supermarkets who, sold it every week, and it always sell out, and I'd have customers saying, when is it coming back? So it has become a bakery item here, and I would like to actually really nurture it and make it, a big thing, because it's something that the very fact that I'm using a local fruit and a very much loved and craved fruit, because when it's out of season, people fantasize about it. But, it's something that I found really sold itself, because people know what Agbalumo was. And then the fact that it was Agbalumo Blondie, they were like, what? I want to taste it, because it's something that it's a novel idea. It's new. And I found that just the concept itself sold itself. So I really want to just nurture that, develop it, find ways to have Agbalumo available all year round. And it's not a rocket science. Preserve it. You can freeze it. You can dry it. It dries very well.
Well, I hope if there's any brands listening, or anybody that works for a brand that can support it, I personally would like to taste it. You should bring it to Ghana.
Honestly, I should have brought you some. I'll bring you some. I'll give you a call.
So we've sort of flirted around the idea of the fact that you've been featured everywhere, in The Guardian, CNN, BBC, all of these great media houses. And in fact, you mentioned in one of your recent BBC interviews, you also debuted
a yam pasta.
So tell us about that.
Okay, so this is a rewind to just before we moved to Lagos. BBC Focus on Africa was doing a feature on African cuisine around the world, and they invited me into the studio to talk about African cuisine and where I think it was leading. And then they gave me a challenge. They said, cook something. Why don't you cook something African and use the same ingredients to make something more European? And I remember thinking, okay, but then, for the next few days I was racking my brain, what am I going to do? And, when you think about European, pasta is so popular. So I remember the very night before the interview, I was experimenting in my kitchen into the wee hours of the night. And, I did some research, and I saw that people had tried making pasta with rice flour, but by the very nature of yams, when you pound yams, you get this dough in a way. And I thought, why can't I just manipulate that and create a gluten-free pasta out of it? So I didn't just go yam pasta. I wanted to take it the extra mile and make it gluten-free, because why use yam if you can use flour? So I created. I created in the wee hours of the morning, and it actually worked. Yes, and sometimes I work very well under pressure. Sometimes I'm most creative when I have a deadline. I'm like, what can I do? What can I do? So this is what happened. This
isn't even a question I had prepared, but just listening to you now and knowing that you have an engineering background and the creativity of your mind, it just boggles me how I think typically those two tend to be on different ends of the spectrum, right? Where engineers are more structured thinking and just, at least from what I know of engineers, very structured thinking, very process oriented, right? These are the parameters within which I will work and that's sort of it. Yes. But you seem to be able to go sort of way out there in terms of creativity and all of that stuff.
Yes, I mean it's interesting that you picked up on that, but and you know, at face value you would think that they can't be connected, but I have found that yes, whilst we are process oriented and there's a lot of structure, engineering and building things, constructing things is a creative process. It is a creative process. You know, there's a bit of, it's a combination of, you have your structure, you have your process, and then you have the ingenuity and inventiveness that comes together to build something. And in fact, before I moved, I was a STEM ambassador, that is science, tech, engineering, maths. But what has happened over the years it has become STEAM. So art is right in the center of it.
I did see that recently. Okay.
Yeah, and if you think about, you know, architects, they're artists, but there's a lot of structural dimension that comes into it. So, yes.
And then you've worked a lot with brands also, and I wanted to speak a little bit about that in terms of, you know, how do brands come to you or how do you approach them? Because if someone is here that's listening that kind of wants to replicate your success, if you will, you know, take what they are doing with food to the next level in terms of working with brands and getting exposed, like what advice would you give to them in terms of if they are approached or how they should approach brands?
So I would say that we are very fortunate, especially in the African context, that we are in a digital age, that it only takes having access to a mobile phone, mobile network where you can get a bit of data that gives you the connection with the rest of the world through apps like Instagram, Facebook. So social media, I think it has been very important in African food enthusiasts reaching the world. So I would advise anybody new to this to get on social media, and you don't need highly technical equipment. Honestly, my first YouTube videos were taken using my BlackBerry, and the camera wasn't even as good as it is now. You know, don't let anything stop you. Just start to tell your story. Put your uniqueness into it. You know, I think I may not always know what my personality looks like to other people, but I think my personality comes through in everything that I do. So definitely set up your social media and start to build content. And it does not matter whether you have 100 followers or 10,000 followers. I mean, I can tell you my stories. I have had the opportunity to work with brands. I mentioned earlier that I've been included in the foodie community here. I go to Maggie events. You know, I create recipes for them when they send me the ingredients. I have worked with a fantastic Nigerian company called Simply that they manufacture frozen yam. Yes, and they are international. You can buy Simply, which is 100% Nigerian product in the UK, in the US, and you know they're expanding. So I've been creating recipes for them because their story is inspirational. So as part of my passion and you know, a hobby has become more and more. It's becoming a career because I'm now working with brands, and I have to say that I did not approach these brands. They actually approached me. So when you tell your story, you stand out, and it doesn't matter whether you have 10,000 followers or 100 followers. I don't have, there are many people who have like 10 times as many followers as I do, but that shouldn't stop you or discourage you. You all have a unique story to tell, even if you're talking about the same thing. You all have, our mums or grandmas have their own twist that they put into jollof. So just run with it. Just run with it. So I'd say use social media to get the word out there. That's certainly how I have got to work with so many different brands and organizations. I don't know if I mentioned, but I have this year contributed to a book that will be published later this year.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's not public yet, but when it comes out, we will tell you about it. We'll let you know. But that is coming out in October. But and all this is because of the stories I have shared, And if you keep consistent, you become known as an expert in a subject matter. And I think this is how people have seen me. I haven't said it myself, but this is how they see me. So now that they see me as that, I do market myself as an expert.
They say fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But if you put your own unique touch into it, you're not even faking it. You're just doing it. So just do it. I say take the first step. It takes 5 minutes. Takes 5 minutes to set up an Instagram account. And right now, especially in Nigeria, and I'm sure in Ghana, Instagram is everything. Right. Instagram is bigger than a website now. So you must have that presence there. So, and I would say just give it a shot. Give it a shot. We all have mobile phones. We all send WhatsApp, so we all have data. Just do it. Yeah. Just do it is what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've done so much. So much. And I think we all want to know, you kind of touched on it a little bit. You talked about the book that's coming out, but I also want to know what else is next for Migrant Orange.
Oh, yes.
What's on the horizon?
Yes, on the horizon. So I have a foodie friend that I met here. Her name is Belura Bernard, and she's from Azerbaijan. But we've come together a couple of times, to cook together. She runs a cooking class and invited me over and had such a great time. And we've always said, "Oh, we're crazy. We should do something together," because I've done a lot of work on my own, but I would love to work with other people. I would love to partner with people because I know that you can go, 10 times further when you work with people. So I have put together a filming project. I've written a proposal. I'm starting to talk to reach out to organizations that may have interest in this, but we are putting together a food series made for TV.
Oh, nice.
That is going to be international, but it is going to highlight lesser known cultures through food.
And I think you'd be the right, just the gems you dropped today alone, I think you'd be absolutely the right person to do this. I'm excited for
Thank you.
That. Yeah,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we are at proposal stage and doing a lot of work in the background because we have a budget. We are not holding back.
Right.
This is a real project. It's gonna cost. It's gonna cost money. Yeah. So and we're not letting that hold us back. We're not afraid of it. And I think that's the nice thing about working with somebody else is that we feed on each other's enthusiasm and courage. Yeah. So we're not holding back at all. So there's a lot of work happening in the background. We're working on the concept of developing a few pilot episodes right now. So, and I think once that is done, that is actually going to help market itself. So we haven't even decided on a name. I mean, we have shortlisted a few names, so we're keeping it a secret.
But at least we get the first scoop here that's coming.
Yes, this is a very first scoop, but we're looking to work with international organizations who may be interested in preserving cultural heritage, that sort of thing, uncovering rare foods. And if this is something that resonates with people out there, universe, contact us. We don't want to work alone. We can't. It's a project that's bigger than ourselves. But we are doing things. I can tell you, we're going to start filming in Nigeria.
Okay.
Later this year, we're going to Azerbaijan on a culinary tour, and we're going to create content there and just take things from there.
Oh, that sounds so exciting.
Yeah. Thank you.
Would you have thought 2 years ago when you're leaving London to come here that you would do all of this?
No, I did not. I did not think that at all. I really did not think that at all. But I've just found that for the past few years, opportunities have come to me, and that should give me the confidence to actually propose something and try and make things happen myself. You can't always sit back and not think outside the box. So we are going for it. And I did want to mention that, I have learned over the years. I've been blogging for 8 years now, blogging about African food for 8 years now. Oh. And I have learned over the years that, African food alone can be a hard sell if you want to reach a wider audience. So why not partner with somebody?
That's actually a brilliant idea.
So this is what we're doing.
That's so excited for you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Stuff. Okay, so before we transition to the rapid fire section of the interview, can you let us know where people can find you online? Like the social media, websites?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and my own website. It's My Burnt Orange. For Instagram, you can find me at My Burnt Orange. Twitter is the same. Facebook, My Burnt Orange. So we are very uniform.
Yeah.
It is My Burnt Orange. You can find me anywhere and everywhere.
Now every time I see My Burnt Orange, I will think of that flat in London where you have all your dinner. Dinner parties. That's exciting. Okay, now we're going to transition very quickly into this rapid fire segment.
Okay.
So I'll just ask you, I'll give you a prompt, and then you just let me know the answer that comes to your mind first. Okay. So, first question.
Yes.
Ghana jollof or Niger jollof?
Ghana.
You're brave enough to say that even in Lagos.
Oh, Ghana jollof.
What do you think makes it different?
I think in Ghana we use an array of herbs and spices that makes it what it is. Nigerian jollof, I think they focus more about the cooking process and incorporating that burnt, or should I say not burnt, because burnt is okay, but that smoky flavor, that people with a Ghanaian palate may not be used to. They may just come and say, who burnt the jollof? Why is it so smoky? But that is the flavor that they have here. And I think it's valid. I think it's valid and it's respected here. But I think Ghanaian jollof has more herbs and spices that bring that dish together. And for me, that's my preference. Okay. Even in the type of rice that is used, we use long grain rice.
Yeah,
they tend to use parboiled rice.
I always say it's the rice.
Yeah, it is the rice, because parboiled rice, look, you won't have a jollof that fails, but it is a rice that is generally drier than long grain rice. Okay. So I would say you need a bit more skill to make Ghanaian jollof.
Okay. Accra or Lagos?
Oh my gosh. Do you know what? I would say Lagos.
Okay.
I've spent more time here.
Okay.
I've only visited Accra, but Lagos has a much more vibrant scene, and nobody can deny that. Honestly, you can't deny that. There's so much happening in terms of food. There's something almost every week here in terms of food. So, Accra, you need to catch on. Catch on, feel the fire. Get a bit of giddy in you.
I think generally speaking, even not just with food, I find Accra is more laid back. Ghanaians are more laid back.
Yeah.
So I could see that.
Yeah.
Buffet or a la carte?
Gosh. A la carte.
Swallow or rice?
Swallow.
Red wine or white wine?
I've matured to red.
You've matured to red.
I have matured. I used to be a white wine girl, but it's red.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Dine in or take out?
Dine in.
Morning person or night person?
Night.
Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram.
What meal do you think represents most who you are?
You mean in terms of breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
No, African, like a dish.
Oh, man, that's a hard one. There's so much to choose from. But you know what? Let me pick a favorite in my house that actually says who my family is. It's peanut butter soup.
Okay.
Peanut butter soup. My husband loves it like his own. I remember a time I proudly developed a 4-week food plan, just in trying to cope with work and motherhood and blogging. So I wanted everything planned so I didn't have to think. He looked at it and he said, "Where's the fufu?" That was his question. So I'd say it's the peanut soup, because peanut is a widely used ingredient in Africa. Zimbabwe, they have peanut dishes, Central Africa,
Okay. And then lastly, what's your favorite African restaurant anywhere in the world? And why?
My favorite African restaurant, look, let me pick Knock by Alara here in Lagos.
Okay.
Because, you know what, it's a restaurant in Nigeria, but I feel that they've done really well being a Nigerian restaurant, that they haven't just stuck to Nigerian food. You will find Ethiopian dishes there, you will find Ghanaian dishes there, you will find dishes from Senegal and Gambia, and for me, even South African desserts, you will find it there, and that says a lot about them, that they have actually done the research, done the hard work, and not just stuck to the Niger palate, because Nigerians are not snobs, but they can be snobbish with their food. They won't try. They will tend not to try other foods. Okay. But I think the fact that they have gone and done this says a lot about them.
I'm going to try it while I'm here this week, so I'm excited to try it.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Well, sadly, we've come to the end of our interview. This has been so good. I've learned so much from you today, and I'm excited to see all the new things that you have coming up this year and beyond.
Thank you very much.
And I'm sure so many people will learn from it, and I hope that people that are listening that have input for all of your projects will reach out. If they can reach out directly to me, and I can connect them to you.
Yes.
Or you shared where people can find you, so they can also reach out directly to you. And hopefully, we'll see that TV show. We'll be looking forward to your book and all of that good stuff.
Thank you. And for those who are wondering, I'm talking, producers, researchers. It's a big project, so I am looking forward to working with skills, talent. We're looking for talent.
All right. Thanks again.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Item 13, an Essence 13 production. If you like the show, please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes. To keep up to date on news and events from Essence 13, please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Essence and the number 13. Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Lee Ullman here with some big news from the National Young Farmers Coalition. We're partnering with Heritage Radio Network on a special season of The Farm Report. It's all about what's happening with the Farm Bill and how it impacts farmers and eaters.
I am growing diversified vegetables on land that's been in our family for 150 years.
And so with the pandemic, gentrification, property values going up, we had to sell the land and we lost it.
Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind this massive piece of legislation that shapes how we grow our food, what we eat, and so much more.
The problems we have had, those are things that come from earlier Farm Bill and USDA policy, right? Like Earl Butts, get big or get out.
It's my responsibility to know not only what I'm eating, but then how that all came to be. And realize wow, this piece of legislation, all this money, it's technically something that I support as a taxpayer.
While Congress debates the next Farm Bill, this is not just an invitation to listen. It's a call to action. Be part of the conversation. Subscribe to The Farm Report on Heritage Radio Network, wherever you listen to podcasts.